Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including new non-Juniper Tesla prototypes spotted, Model Y milestones for 2024, more Robotaxi testing, and more, so let's get into it, and a special thanks to Ethos for sponsoring this video. First up today, in celebration of the new year, Tesla released their year-end milestone report in a thread on X. In 2024, they shipped over 300 features to owners via free over-the-air software updates. Some of those, of course, include Actually Smart Summon, FSD V13 in the full self-driving package, and then much more for customers who don't have that package. This year, they celebrated 7 million Teslas on the road worldwide. They also produced their 100 millionth 4680 battery cell, 10 millionth drive unit, 1 millionth Model Y at their Fremont factory, 400,000th vehicle at Giga Berlin, and 3 millionth vehicle at Giga Shanghai. Most excitingly, they announced that Model Y is on track to be the best-selling car in the world again. This claim will likely be made official in the coming weeks, possibly during Tesla's earnings call at the end of the month if they have the data from competitors. There are currently over 7 million Teslas across the globe, and the Model Y accounts for the largest portion of those, as their best-selling vehicle. It's their best-selling option for a lot of reasons. It offers excellent utility, performance, safety, and tech at a reasonable price. It is also one of the safest vehicles on the road, once again receiving a Top Safety Pick Plus award from the IIHS for 2024. If these sales estimates are correct, the Model Y will be the world's best-selling car by volume for 2 years running. In 2023, it was the world's best-selling car by volume, with an estimated 1.22 million units sold globally, according to JATO Dynamics. This is doubly impressive considering this car hasn't really changed a lot since its release in 2020. Once its upcoming refresh is released, that should boost these numbers even higher in 2025. That update is reportedly already being produced out of Giga Shanghai, and Fremont is shut down for upgrades, so many are excited to see this very soon. We'll get to the latest sightings on that car later in this video. What will be interesting to see as well is if the Model Y did manage to climb the ranks in the US. In the US alone, it was reported around September that the Model Y was the second best-selling vehicle, just behind the Toyota RAV4, and right in front of the Ford F-150. That was even as Tesla did experience a year-over-year decline in vehicle sales. Many focus on that decline, but it is important to recognize that either way, they still sold 1,789,226 electric vehicles. With that new Model Y, many expect that if Tesla didn't cross over to number one in the US, they could within 2025 thanks to that. Tesla still massively outsells their competition for EVs in the US, selling 618,000 EVs in the US for 2024, whereas number 2, GM, sold 114,000. However, BYD and Tesla have actually traded off on the title of world's best-selling EV maker. With 2024 over and done, many people have been excitedly awaiting the sales figures from these two companies to see which EV maker would come out on top this year. BYD stopped production of fully gasoline vehicles in 2022, but these figures do still include hybrid vehicles as well as fully electric. We're used to seeing a year-end sales push from Tesla, and it looks like BYD is using that strategy as well. Part of that sales push was offering free car insurance for some top-selling EVs as a promo for the Chinese New Year. That offer is still available through January 26th. After selling over 509,000 vehicles last month alone, BYD did set a new sales record of over 4.27 million new energy vehicles. That is the third month in a row that they have sold over 500,000 vehicles, and an impressive 41% increase year over year. Less than half of those sales were fully electric, though, at 1,764,992 EVs sold within 2024. That also represented a 41% increase in EV sales year over year. For now, Tesla is still in the lead, having sold 1.78 million last year, but that gap seems to be closing fast. BYD did surpass Tesla in EV production. While Tesla missed their fourth quarter delivery expectations, BYD was up 13% from Q4 2023. BYD's plans for 2025 include starting local production in overseas markets in Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, so they are closer than ever to dethroning Tesla as the best-selling EV maker globally. In large part, their very cheap and affordable EVs make this possible, so it will be interesting to watch how Tesla can respond with cars like that new Model Y and whatever more affordable EVs they can make. Those overseas sales for BYD grew by 72% in 2024, and they are working on expanding their vehicle lineup at the same time. But again, those do include hybrids. Either way, this may be the last year that Tesla holds the title if nothing changes. Then the question will be, does that matter? Tesla is betting a lot more on the long term and products like the Robotaxi, so time will tell. Next up today, the news as of late for Tesla's future vehicles is obviously dominated by the Juniper Model Y. Production at Tesla's Fremont factory has been shut down as they retool for this car, and we're hearing all about it coming out of their other factories as well. There are a lot more sightings this week to talk about, but first, Tesla was spotted testing a very curious car. Out in Palo Alto, a covered-up Tesla with dealer plates was spotted, so many assumed this was the new Model Y. As it turns out, this is actually a Model 3, driving around with its back fully covered, just like Tesla did with the Highland Model 3, and is now doing with the Juniper Model Y. Since that Highland Model 3 is fully released and selling to many, this raises a number of questions. The first speculation that comes to mind is that since Tesla is pushing their design on the Model Y to have a rear light bar, as has been clearly spotted a number of times now, they could be looking to standardize this for the Model 3 as well. The Cybertruck has a rear light bar, the Robotaxi has a rear light bar, and soon the Model Y refresh will have one. So maybe as they enter their cars further into the future, they want this design element to be standardized across their best-selling cars. I think that's a definite possibility, and Tesla has been known to change design elements on their cars at various times in the past. It does seem quite different though, and they will still likely distinguish the Model 3 and Y if this is the case. Here, the Model Y refresh can be spotted with its brake lights shining through in a horizontal orientation. For the Model 3 here, covered up, they're still vertical. On the other side of things, while everyone is focused on the Model Y refresh, and it appears to be the next thing released from Tesla, they have reiterated many times that they are making more affordable vehicles for the first half of 2025. Originally, Tesla's plan was to make a cheaper model on their new platform, but now they plan for it to be somewhat based on their existing platform. As such, most expect a smaller Model 3 or Y. Here, it's very possible that this is a slightly smaller Model 3 or a Model 3 with certain changes to distinguish it and make it cheaper. If this is the case, it's arguably more exciting than the Model Y refresh, since this is the car that should be able to scale even further and reach more buyers at a lower price point. At the same time, Tesla could simply be testing a car with any number of changes and throwing a cover on it to throw people off as they're looking for the Model Y refresh. If that's the case, Tesla does appear to be doing similar over in Germany. This covered car, which appears to be a Model 3 Performance, was spotted. There's a lot of speculation as to what this could be, but it does seem odd that Tesla is specifically covering this car up in an area where they keep even brand new cars uncovered. Maybe a slight refresh is coming to that car soon, or it could be that rear light bar. Throughout the past week, the Model Y has been spotted quite a bit in Palo Alto, San Jose, and more. These are undoubtedly prototypes coming out of Tesla's Fremont factory as they are getting closer and closer to real production. From this particular sighting, we can see the turn signals are indeed integrated into the light bar itself, which is a cool design choice. As for the front light bar, it does seem that there are brakes within it, and it's not just one solid sweep. Zooming all the way into that front light, this will function as the blinker, there is a brake, and then the light bar will continue from there all the way across the center of the car. Most likely, the headlights will be located underneath, just like is the case on the Cybertruck. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Ethos. Getting a new life insurance policy can oftentimes be confusing, time-consuming, and expensive, but Ethos is working to change that with a 100% online application process and no medical exams or blood tests. All you have to do is answer a few health questions online. Life insurance is the best safety net you can have for your family in case something bad happens. If I have children in the future, I could easily take out a policy through Ethos that would leave them with up to $2 million if something happens to me. And it's more affordable than a daily cup of coffee. The beneficiaries of my life insurance policy can spend the payouts on anything, including household expenses, college, or paying off the mortgage. According to a 2022 Investopedia study, it's better to take out a policy sooner rather than later, too, as premiums increase by 8 to 10% each year you wait. If you've been putting off getting a policy, Ethos can help you check it off your to-do list super quick. You can get a quote in seconds, apply for a policy in minutes, and in most cases get same-day coverage instead of waiting for weeks. Lock in your rate now with Ethos by scanning the QR code on screen or by clicking the link in the description below. This sighting also again confirms the front bumper camera for the Model Y. Then this one gives us an even better look at that rear light bar. At this point, it's almost funny how much it's shining through this cover and how much it's uncovered. This one also doesn't even have a rear plate mounted onto the cover. As we approach this vehicle's release, there are plenty of renders going around on the internet, like this one, but these seem to be a more accurate representation of what we could expect, along with these. Of course, here's hoping that they do boost the range like this, but we'll see. One interesting rumor is coming from China and saying that there is a, quote, single steering paddle on-screen gear shift. If this is the case, it could be Tesla trying to bridge the gap between their stockless steering wheel and the current Model Y steering wheel with stocks. As it's their best-selling car by far, they could be trying to keep more customers happy by having traditional blinkers instead of buttons for blinkers. That does seem pretty far-fetched to me though, since every other car that they make has gotten rid of stocks, and maybe instead they'll have some sort of option to add it, if anything. Still, it does seem to be interestingly a piece that makes people not want to buy a Model Y, so maybe they're figuring out a way to get more people to buy it here. Sources are saying that the Model Y Juniper is in the process of beginning production out of all of Tesla's factories, and that they plan to announce the refresh just before the Chinese New Year. That would be January 29th, with deliveries in early February. On top of that, rumor has it that the internal project name is now known as Opal. As for that timeline, it does line up with other sources in the US saying that Tesla is beginning promotional filming of the Model Y refresh this coming week. That would be the footage they release along with the announcement, and they do tend to do this work right up to the wire, as to keep it as secret as possible. It's interesting to see how much Tesla China contributes to the way that Tesla rolls out their products now. All signs are pointing that by the end of this month, this car will be announced, and by next month, we'll likely see first deliveries. Then we'll continue trying to figure out why Tesla is hiding elements of certain Model 3 prototypes. It's definitely an exciting year for Tesla, as these new vehicles should help them continue to expand. 2024 ended up somewhat being the year of the new Model 3, the Cybertruck, and full self-driving. 2025 will continue growth with FSD, but should bring a boost in sales thanks to new products at better prices. Next up today, Joe Tegmeyer got some cool footage of Tesla's Robotaxi testing out at Giga, Texas. While we're talking a lot about Tesla's drivable cars, the Robotaxi is ultimately the main car they plan to scale in a major way into the future. As such, we're seeing them continue testing of this car around the lot at Giga, Texas. Here it's being chased by a Model 3 as well as a Model Y, and a Model Y with LiDAR verification racks. In fact, it almost seems that by the location they have the Cybercab pulling off to, they may be getting things in order to offer more demo Robotaxi rides like they did at the We Robot event. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tesla hold some sort of event here in the near future, either for the announcement of a new vehicle, with this on the side, or a shareholder factory tour that includes these rides. But of course, they could simply be testing general functionality. Either way, it's very cool to see this out testing, but ultimately, the functionality this will deliver is something that Tesla plans to deliver to today's cars already. While hardware 4 vehicles delivered today have version 13 of FSD, which is reportedly what Tesla was running at the We Robot event, hardware 3 customers are waiting on that technology. It raises the question as to whether or not Tesla will end up giving up on hardware 3, but currently, FSD version 12.6 has been rolling out to certain hardware 3 vehicles. Tesla's head of AI tweeted, quote, "Pulled in a few important improvements from V13 into this 12.6 release for AI3. Initially rolling out to S/X customers, other platforms should be within a week." The hope here is that this version does roll out to Model 3 and Y customers in the coming weeks, and then Tesla can move all the way forward to V13 beyond that. At this point, though, it does seem to be quite a lot of work, so we'll see how Tesla solves this here. Ultimately, if it's more cost-effective for Tesla to simply upgrade customers who purchased FSD to hardware 4 than it is to keep developing for hardware 3, I imagine they may do so. At that point, they'd probably have some sort of cutoff date where any newly purchased FSD packages have to pay for the upgrade themselves to get the latest version. If you're curious if you have hardware 3 or 4, or what they're now calling AI3 or AI4 on your Tesla, you can tell because the updated camera lenses have some red in them and are much larger. You can also check based on your purchase date. The Model Y began shipping with hardware 4 in May of 2023, the Model 3 began shipping with it with the refresh in 2024, and the Model S and X began shipping with it in early 2023. You might also be able to simply tell by seeing if you have FSD V13 or not. From here, Tesla does have plans for AI5 hardware, but first they seem to be truly trying to achieve their autonomy goals with what is shipping today. Either way, it will be very interesting to watch the road forward to Tesla's rideshare network and the hopeful release of this Robotaxi. Next up today, with the refreshed Model Y anticipated to come out fairly soon, we're beginning to see new incentives intended to clear out inventory for the older Model Y. One such incentive is 5 years of free supercharging for inventory Model Ys in Japan. Tesla Japan posted this ad with details saying new buyers will receive free supercharging for 5 years on any new inventory Model Ys ordered after January 1st and delivered by March 31st. That March 31st deadline is the end of Q1 2025. On their website, they elaborate that the 5 years, of course, begins after delivery. Interestingly, it looks like if you're already waiting for a vehicle to be delivered that was ordered before January 1st, it will not be eligible for free supercharging if you now place another order. They go on to say, quote, "This benefit is linked to your Tesla account and cannot be transferred to other customers or vehicles. Used vehicles and vehicles used for business purchases, such as taxis, rideshare vehicles, and delivery services are not eligible. Idle fees are also not included, so you're of course responsible for paying those." Lastly, they say this program may be changed or terminated without notice. For many, that definitely makes it less enticing, knowing Tesla could take it away at any time, but if you're planning on putting a lot of miles on that car within the first 5 years of ownership, this could be a great deal for you in Japan. This offer is following the installation of Tesla's 600th Japanese supercharger and their 60,000th supercharger worldwide, which was also installed in Japan. Tesla is yet to see widespread adoption in Japan, but this incentive joins their other efforts to expand that market. Some other exciting news from Tesla Japan is that they are planning to showcase the Optimus robot in a Tesla showroom in Tokyo. The announcement said it will be, quote, equipped with the same AI and hardware as Tesla vehicles for the first time in Japan. They have also showcased the Cybertruck there, though we haven't heard any news lately about when sales might begin. Overall, this incentive could be a great deal for new buyers, essentially making it free to fuel your Tesla for 5 years. Although I do think this somewhat falls in line with the timeline of the Model Y Juniper, or as we're now hearing it called, Opal. I doubt that they'll have this incentive on that new car, so it's interesting to see this is expiring on March 31st. Last up today, some updates from other automakers. Rivian is enjoying a stock surge after reporting their year-end deliveries. Despite a supply shortage in 2024, they delivered more vehicles than expected in Q4, exceeding Wall Street's expectations. On that shortage, Rivian said, quote, the previously discussed shortage of a shared component on the R1 and RCV platforms is no longer a constraint. The company has been focusing on cutting costs after shutting down operations in April to introduce new upgrades. In the last quarter of 2024, they delivered 14,183 vehicles, beating estimates by about 700 vehicles. For this year, they reached their target of 51,579 EVs delivered, and that represented a small growth over 2023. Q4 was up an impressive 40% over Q4 2023, though. Production was also higher than expected at 12,727 EVs and 49,476 EVs for the whole year, surpassing their guidance numbers. Net loss fell to $1.1 billion in the third quarter, down from $1.34 billion in Q3 2023, but they lost more on each vehicle than they had previously, and we'll hear more about that for Q4. Of course, these figures are way ahead of 2023 when they were losing over $139,000 per vehicle. In 2024, Rivian joined VW in a lucrative joint venture worth up to $5.8 billion, contributing to their $6.7 billion in cash and equivalents. Rivian has confirmed that they're still on track to post their first positive growth profit in Q4, but of course, official numbers will be released on February 20th. Overall, I'm very excited to hear positive news coming from Rivian, and if they do report a positive growth profit, that will be very impressive to see. Even as the federal EV tax credit stands on the edge of being cut, we're seeing a lot of new vehicles become eligible for it in the new year. 5 electric vehicles produced by the Hyundai Motor Group have just officially gained access to that $7,500 tax credit. After a strong 2024, the Korean automaker has ambitions of greatly increasing their EV market share, and that plan includes increasing tax credit eligibility. The 5 vehicles are spread across the automaker's sub-brands, including Hyundai with the Ioniq 5 and 9, Kia with the EV6 and EV9, and Genesis with the GV70. In addition to that tax credit, customers who purchase now are also being offered a free NACS charge port adapter to use at Tesla superchargers. That's a nice incentive as it really opens up charging for owners across the nation, but of course you can just buy one of those adapters as well. The new Ioniq 5 is actually the first of Hyundai's options to come with a native NACS port, which is a really exciting step for the brand. In the meantime, while we await that port to arrive on the rest of their fleet, this free adapter is a nice gesture, so you're getting essentially the same experience. While that credit may be leaving at some point in 2025, these cars will be getting a big discount of $7,500 for qualifying customers, at least for the meantime. That should give Hyundai a nice EV sales boost. In the meantime, if you are interested in purchasing a vehicle from Hyundai, now may be a great time to act. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see what the future looks like for Tesla and EV battery tech in general, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.